Hey all, and welcome back to Fuzzy Ducks of Gaming, and a new video on the channel going over my second Alch and Go strategy for the league, which is blight farming. In this video I'm going to go through my setup, what I recommend you do differently, sort of profit that we make, the time it takes to complete a map, and then we'll also go through whether I'd recommend this strategy. So let's start with the profit, but we'll go into the detail of that later. It was about half a divine profit per map. I ran 20 maps, and after I sold all of my loot, I was left with 10.5 divines in currency. It took about half an hour to sell all of the loot. We'll go through what I struggle with later, just so you don't make the same mistakes. And I recommend you do more than 20 maps, because when you're pricing stuff up, you're basically pricing the same stuff. So the more maps you do, the more profit you're going to make, because you're not going to take as long selling. It wouldn't matter if I did 20 maps or 50 maps, I'd still be selling the same sort of item. So I would recommend you wait as long as you can before you decide to start liquidating. So what sort of character do you need for this strategy? You don't need an amazing character, you just have to be able to complete Blight. We're not making the maps more difficult with things like scarabs, we're just Alch and going. There is a node on the tree you can take if you do struggle with damage that basically makes your towers do much more damage, but you do less damage. It won't apply to your merc though, so your merc will still do their normal damage. I didn't test this out, but if you're worried that you might not have the DPS, take the node on the tree. In terms of maps to run, you essentially want to run any map that's linear with narrow corridors. It makes it easier. If you pick big open maps, if you've got a good character, it's fairly easy. If you don't, you're probably going to get overwhelmed and your pump's going to get destroyed. So things like toxic sewer works really well, waste pool, anything with long corridors works fine. There's like 6 or 7 different maps you can go to. I set all my favorites to toxic sewer. I didn't sustain because I didn't have any to start with, so I just went and ran any random maps Alch and Go that looked like they had a half decent layout for Blight. I also used Searing Exarch influence on the map and took all the Searing Exarch nodes for altars, and then that boosted up the currency quite a lot. You'll get things like gem cuts, prisms, glass blurs, baubles. Regrets sell pretty well. Embers still sell fairly well. They're not as valuable as at league start, but all the stuff you get from the altars you'll sell, and it's really quick to do. You just click on an altar and blow up a pack. I added essences in, which I probably wouldn't do because there's only a few that are really worth decent currency. But if you can melt essence monsters in like a second or two, take them because it's just easy money. If you might struggle with certain mods on essences, don't take them. The bulk of your profit from Blight, obviously, is going to come from oils and maps. The maps are a bit of a pain to sell, which we'll come on to later. The oils, really easy to sell. One thing I recommend is don't have lower oils on your loot filter. I started my loot filter at violet oils and up. You could even cut them out. The lower ones are just not worth it because you have to trade them up hundreds of times to get it to be worth currency. You don't want to be clicking on them and then selling them or leveling them up in your stash tab. So I would definitely start minimum of violet. I've linked my loot filter in the video description if you want to use it. It is a fairly soft filter. It shows a lot that you might not want to show at this stage of the league, but it worked quite well for me. If you want to make a stricter filter, just go in and change the oil so that you're not showing the lower oils. I did test out a couple of the Blight scarabs to see if it was worth doing, but it was too hit and miss to what sort of currency you make, and it does make the maps more difficult. So I decided, just for a strategy that's 3 days into the league, let's just make it Alch and Go and make it nice and simple. You could free up lots of points on your tree and just use Blight scarabs. I imagine they're about 1 chaos each if you wanted to put more things into your map, which I'd certainly recommend. I didn't do it, I just took 100% chance to get Blight on the tree. I would think on average it took me about 3.5 minutes to run these maps. The way I'd recommend you run them is proc your influence and find the Blight. If you haven't found good altars by then, just complete the Blight, then leave the map. There's no need to hang around just on the off chance that you get altars. You don't need to kill the boss unless it's for an invitation drop. That makes the maps quicker, and it means you're doing more Blights, which is where the majority of your profit will come from. There were maps where I stayed in for like 4 or 5 minutes where I had really good altars. The Blight went on for a while because sometimes they spawn monsters for quite a long time. And then I wanted to kill the boss because that also had some altar rewards against it. But overall, I would think it was 3.5 to 4 minutes for a map. I'm not going to take time into account at all because I don't think it helps people with farming strategies. I did 20 maps and it's about 80 chaos profit per map, 80 to 85 C. So you're looking at over half a divine profit per map. I did have one outlier, which is a divination card that sold for 1.5 divines. But even if you took that out, you're still going to be making probably 0.4 divines per map, which is really nice for a strategy that is fairly easy. You can make it so your towers do all of the work. And your loot is very easy to liquidate other than the blighted maps, which I will come on to. One thing I would recommend if you do think you might struggle with Blight is get some anoints on your rings. So you want to anoint Chilling Towers freeze enemies. This is quite expensive. It's a silver oil and an opalescent oil, but it's well worth it. And then for the other one, I will get Meteor Towers create burning ground on hit, because this also damages enemies that are immune to the towers because it's a burning ground that's doing the damage. It also damages the proximity shields. So let's talk about selling loot. I've recorded all of the selling because I think sometimes people aren't very transparent about their loot. They just price it up what it says on something like Path of Exile and then just tell you you're going to make 15 divines without telling you it's going to take you 3 days to sell the loot. All the currency, all of the oils, all of the div cards, everything's sold on the exchange. If something wasn't worth 1C, I didn't try and sell it, I just put it in my stash. So the breakdown at the end where I've got my 10.5 divines, there was quite a lot of stuff outside of that I didn't include. So maps didn't go in there unless they were sellable. So that would be the memory strand maps, sell for about 15 chaos each, and then obviously the blighted maps. Normal maps I put straight into my stash. Any currency that you had to sell loads in bulk to get a chaos, again, I put into my stash. I only sold stuff that was 1C or more, or lots of bulk currency that was easy to sell. So I think I had like 84 alteration orbs. They don't sell for loads, you'll get like 12C for them, but they'll sell instantly. When it came to the max, it was a bit more tricky because when I price checked T16 Blight maps, the cheapest on trade was 20C and there wasn't many of them. So I stuck them all in the 20C tab, didn't get any whispers. About 20 minutes later, I got 3 whispers. I'm assuming they were people just price checking because they all just declined the invite when I invited them. So what I decided to do was just undercut the lowest price on there by about 2C and sell them in bulk. So the way you do that is however many maps you've got, let's say you've got 4 and you want to sell them for 70 chaos for the 4, you just price it for 70 divided by 4 in chaos, and that basically says I want 70 chaos for my 4 maps. The T16 sold really, really quickly. I did the same for the T15s and the T14s, and they didn't sell. So that was when I had to visit TFT. So TFT is a Discord server where you can buy and sell loot. There's loads of different things you can do on here. You can get someone to carry your void stones. You can get like merc gear, heist contracts, anything you could buy or sell in the game will be in TFT. So all I went down to is mercenaries want to buy. So you got bulk buy mercenaries, went to maps, and then I just looked for the latest Blight one. You can actually use Control F to search. I was willing to sell them for basically 13C upwards, and then I found a listing, which is this one here, 14C each. So I sold my T15s and 14s. You just copy this message, want to sell Blight, how many you want to sell, and what you want for them. They'll invite you. You can sell the loot. TFT is a really quick way of doing it, and it's a decent way of doing your bulk exchanges. They probably would have sold on trade, but I just got fed up with people whispering when they had no intention of buying the items. So the T15s and 14s I sold in bulk on TFT, along with 2 T17 ziggurats I sold for 50C each on bulk trade. As you can see, 50C here. And then you can also sell the new memory maps. So people will pay between 10 to 15C, don't sell them for any less. Yeah, so you can see here, want to buy areas influenced by originators' memories, so which is the special maps that you drop, 20C each. I sold mine for 15. Looks like they're going up a bit in price. You could probably sell them on trade as well. I just find bulk trades easier on TFT. Firstly, people are pretty much always buying, so you don't have to worry about whispering 100 people and them not getting back to you. So that's what I did with my maps. If you're not familiar or don't want to use TFT, I honestly wouldn't recommend Blight, because I think it would be a bit of a struggle to sell your maps and you'd be lucky to sell them instantly. You could just price them really, really cheap, like 20% under market value, but in bulk, they'd probably sell. That's kind of it for the video. I wanted it to be nice and quick. I've shown the Atlas tree, I've shown the loot, I've shown how to sell the loot, and I've gone through what I think are the pros and cons. I would do this strategy again because blighted maps are very, very common in these. And I just did it Alch and go. I'm sure you could throw scarabs in there. You can run 8 more maps. You can run cartography scarabs to get more maps. There's loads you can do to actually increase the profit, but I just wanted to see what Blight was like as a baseline. And it worked really well. If you're tight on currency, you've got a half decent T16 character, Blight is a very good way to make money. And like I said, I didn't get anything special other than 1 divination card. So even if you take that out, you're looking at between 65 to 75C profit per map. And it takes about 4 minutes. All you need to do is outcome map, stick it in and run the map. But you do have to sell everything. sell all your currency on the exchange, all of your oils on the exchange, and sell your maps on TFT. And I do think this is a realistic expectation of what you can get. I haven't included any loot that's a bit shady, I haven't included any maps, and I've actually liquidated everything into divines to show it's what you can get. So I think I was down from what Wealthy Exile said about 0.3 divine, so it's very, very close to what my loot was actually worth. If you're also running Blight, let me know how you've got on with your loot, and if you juice it up more, just let me know again whether that makes a massive difference to the profit, because I'm always curious to know. That's it for the video. Thanks for watching, take care, and see you in the next one.